City Council meeting called at emergency meeting held at 12 o'clock, December 16th, 2022. I'd also like to draw your attention to the Opens Meeting Act posted in the northwest corner of the chamber. This time I'm going to ask for a motion to go into closed session for the protection of public interest to discuss an ongoing investigation regarding an allegation of criminal misconduct within a local organization. Oh. Okay, I guess I disregard that. Okay. Where you want to go? Oh, okay. Did you want to do that? I thought we were doing okay. Okay, at this time, I'd like to ask for a moment of silence, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. All right. Roll call, please.
Granquist?
Here.
Arns?
Here.
Merrill? Sorry, Webb? Sorry. Webb?
Here.
Okay. McCarthy?
Here.
Murin?
Yes.
Jackson?
Yes.
Clausen?
Here.
Hildebrand?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. What's that? Yeah. Now I need approval of the full agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the full agenda. Second.
Roll call, please.
Please vote. All council members present voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Should we read number 6? This time I need a motion for consideration of approval of an amendment to an agreement for the Norfolk Area Transit Corporation of Nebraska nonprofit corporation to amend the terms of the original agreement dated October 18th, 2021 to allow additional options for the payment of city's annual contribution to the fund's ongoing operations for funding ongoing operations for transit service, with a potential closed session for the protection of public interest to discuss an ongoing investigation regarding an allegation of criminal misconduct within a local organization.
I'll make a motion.
Okay, roll call.
Well, first
Or
we'll
do you wanna
want
do
to, yeah, we'll do our discussion.
Okay,
Just-
this time,
Yep.
yeah, that's fine. We got a motion and a second, then we will go and ask for discussion. Okay. At this time, I see we've got Jason Lamley, and a representative for the Norfolk Area Transit. We'd ask you to come forward.
Hey, Shane. Yeah, my name is Jason Lamley. I am legal counsel for the Norfolk Area Transit Incorporated, nonprofit corporation. And I'm just here to, on behalf of the board, to request that the city council pass the motion that was just discussed or just mentioned. The board is taking action and has begun an internal investigation into its systems, its processes, the financials. So bullet points of some of the actions they're taking as part of that investigation is they have suspended their general manager. They are starting the process of the audit that's required under the city contract. So the city contract requires an audit. They're starting that process. They've also engaged a local CPA firm, excuse me, to help them determine the current financials in the state there. So they're trying to work on that. They've engaged their banks to talk to the banks about meeting their financial obligations. They've also engaged the Madison County in accordance with the contract with it to determine what needs to be done under that contract. And I believe Joe Smith is here today as well. They've also engaged the Nebraska Mobility Management Team, who is going to come in and be on site today to start taking over the operations and the systems of the day-to-day operations. And so the Nebraska Management Team, or Nebraska Mobility Management Team, is here today. Or not here in the council today, but at at the Norfolk Area Transit today. So today we're asking, and then part of that, what they're going to do is they're going to look at the systems, the policies, see if there's any more reimbursement for expenses that can be obtained. And they are looking to see what the services are and the systems to see if they're the right size for the community right now. Okay, so that's what the Nebraska Mobility Management Team is going to do. And Bob Bourne is one of the primary on that team, and he has over 40 years of experience, and so he is going to be the person on the ground to do those things. Okay. So today what we're asking is a request that the annual funding from the city be paid in a lump sum, and that's what the motion was about. So if there's any questions for me, I'll try to answer them if I can. Otherwise, I will sit down and take my seat.
That lump sum is for the remainder of this year, this fiscal year, not all the way through. It's what, 85,000?
Yeah, I believe it's the 85 or 88,000.
It was 108,000. We've already paid
One
quarter.
time, yes, correct.
So it'd be 185,000. Some change.
Yes, correct.
So
Jason, can you, just for probably public information, explain why the request for lump sum and the situation we're in?
Just from the financials that was brought to the board's attention, it's an internal investigation, and they're trying to figure out actually the financials. The board doesn't know all the details, so I can't give you every detail today because I don't know them yet, and the board's trying to figure that out, and that's part of what the mobility team is coming up to try to figure out as well.
how deep can you, how much can you share? I mean, what's the reason for the ask?
The reason for the ask is to meet the financial obligations that are current
What
financial
happened to the
obligations. What's that?
What happened to the finance?
I can't get into too many details because I don't know the exact numbers. I can't give you any of those. What happened was there isn't enough cash on hand to meet financial obligations right now without the city passing this motion.
So if they wouldn't,
Yeah. Jason, can you tell us what financial obligations need to be met?
Payroll.
Payroll.
Sole payroll, that is, at the moment?
That's at the moment, that's the
Okay.
immediate
That's the
need
immediate
right-
ask, is of
That's
the
the
need of-
immediate ask
of the
right
funds.
now.
Okay.
Like I said, the board is trying to figure out what else is out there, if anything.
Okay.
They don't know at this point, so I
And-
can't answer that.
For that payroll, what pay period, or what's the extent of the pay period?
The 2-week pay period,
Okay.
which the pay period ends, the payroll is due today,
Okay.
the last 2 weeks.
I'd like to ask our city attorney, did you want to? this a
Sorry,
little bit?
Shane, if I may, I'm sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay.
I forgot to mention that Tracy Jeffries, the board chair, is here, and so is Lacey Kimes, the vice president of the board. So they're also here, just for the record.
Okay.
So just to clarify on the city's end, this first agenda item that we're talking about right now, the addendum agreement that we're looking at would be an addendum, would be a change to the original agreement from 2021. So how it currently reads, if I may, it currently reads that that there will be an annual contribution by the city to the transit authority of $108,333 done, and that is broken down into quarterly payments. The amendment before you today is to allow us the opportunity to pay in 4 equal payments in one lump sum paid up front or as otherwise determined by the city at city's sole discretion. So that's the amendment that would be necessary in order to look at the next agenda item, which is that payment. But this is just, this item is just a change to our contract to allow us, if we decide in the next agenda item, to pay the remainder of the money that's owed, well, or that has been budgeted for, if you will. This would allow that to happen. So this is just the contract amendment right now, ultimately.
you're talking just for this fiscal year.
For this fiscal year, yes.
So that's 108,000.
Yes, 108,000, but we've already
Paid
paid.
1 quarter.
We've paid a quarter, so the amount which will come up in the next agenda item the remainder right now is $88,155.98.
And it's actually, this year has an inflation adjustment in it, so this year's payment is $117,541.31. We've already paid 1/4 of that, or $29,385.33.
So this would be the second quarter or third quarter payment? Where are we at?
The payment that is
Yeah.
on the agenda to be authorized is the second, third, and fourth quarters payments, all in
And
one
what quarter are we in now? First?
That,
Or this be the end of the first?
that agreement started, the quarters run with our fiscal year, so it started October 1, and our payment for the second quarter is due in the 1st of January. So I'd be making that payment, which would be being made anyway, along with the third and fourth quarter payments.
So we're considering the 88,000 right now, is that correct?
This. Correct. This, if we vote no on this, we are unable to move on to on to number 7. So this is what comes before that. It's a good question.
I do have a follow-up to Gary's question, and why is this needed? Why do we need to make a lump sum now?
Without additional funding, I don't believe payroll can be met today.
So after this money comes in, what's the plan for the next payroll?
The plan is to do the investigation and the audit by the Nebraska Mobility Management Team to figure out what needs to be done, what can be done, and what steps to take to keep working with the banks, the local lenders that the transit has. That's the plan.
In your opening presentation, you just talked about putting things into place where this won't happen again?
That's part of what the Nebraska Mobility Management Team is there in place to do. Yes, and the board is going to take action to make sure that the financials are watched and there's oversight there.
And do you know, is there any insurance coverage for?
That is part of what the board is doing as well, is to look into if there's any insurance coverage or anything like that, or a reimbursement that could be made that wasn't put in for by the other government programs out there in the grant funding. They're checking that as well.
Yeah, because I'll likely need a crime endorsement on that policy. I mean, obviously to collect on it. That's why I was curious if they have that.
And that's part of what the board is doing, is to check that. And I can't answer that question whether that the specifics in the policy or not. I can't.
I guess I got a question. Obviously, there's a funding issue. Has the bank been notified, and is the bank willing to submit or lend any finances until the second payment of the amount that is due in January?
The board has met it with its banks, and at this time, the banks aren't loaning any money right now. But they're working with them as going forward.
Well, kind of, Corey, I think the payroll period is more than 27,000.
27,000.
I understand that, but the ask is the remainder of the 88,000. Whereas, I mean, and the bank is not willing to move forward. I guess that there's a little error on my part, or a question on my part, is something's not adding up here if the bank won't help an institution such as Norfolk Public Transit. I mean, will the bank follow the note? Will a temporary note if the city backs it with the next quarter, or the remainder of the 88,000? I guess is kind of what my question is.
As far as what I can answer right now is that the board executive team has met with the banks, and the banks aren't willing to loan money at this point right now. They are trying to keep working with the banks, but right now the answer was no from the banks.
Yeah, that presents the hard part about it is if basically we're covering a 2-week pay period, and then there's no funds for the next 2 weeks pay period.
I can't give you certainty on that right now, today.
So there's potential either way, no matter what happens today, the transit system's done.
I
So-
can't answer that.
So the ask is for the remainder of the lump sum, which I understand that, but I'm kind of with Shane on this, is that so what happens in 2 weeks for that payroll when this money has been dispersed through the 2 week pay period? I mean, are we up against a wall now on a 2 week pay period that needs to be made, and then in 2 weeks, then what? Then what's the next pay period step?
We are, if I can interject, we are getting money from the state reimbursement that is taken out there that
Say that again.
we are.
Can you
getting-
come up, Tracy?
Yeah, come on
Thank you, sorry. And state your name and stuff
Yep.
for the record, please.
Tracy Jeffrey, President. Our state mobility team has been in contact with NDOT about getting our reimbursement from the state hopefully as soon as next week to keep us going.
And then reimbursement would be what amount?
I don't know that exact amount, but over 200,000 is what,
So it'd be enough to cover your payroll period,
correct,
the next one?
correct.
Okay.
We heard from the state this morning that we are waiting to hear the exact meaning, the exact money either today or as early as Monday to know exactly how much money we can get here, hopefully by next week.
How much money were you thinking you might be able to get? 200,000? Is that?
It's over 200,000,
Over
I think, yes. Some of the stuff that was submitted just wasn't 100% correct, inserting it into the portal to the state of Nebraska, and so we're working on that to get as much money as we can.
Is that the only funding source for the next, because that's about a month and
We still have our,
month and a half, maybe?
we still do have our local sponsors that have not completely paid for their sponsorships that will still be coming in on a monthly, quarterly basis.
Is your staff aware of this?
I just notified staff an hour ago.
Randy, I got a question for you. Is that we have this we have this money set aside to pay on a quarterly basis. What kind of position does this put the city in if we do a lump sum versus set payments aside?
We have the funding clearly to make this payment. And of course, the hope is we make this payment and the other funding that Tracy's talking about comes forward and the transit can continue to operate.
Okay, that's good enough. I guess, Tracy, I feel for you that you had to break the news that you did.
Yeah.
So
Yes, there's a lot of employees there that, yeah.
Tracy, how many people are employed?
We have 70+ employees. And we have, as you guys know, with public transportation, we are transporting people to and from work. We hear this on a daily basis, that they cannot get to work without public transportation. They can't get to school without public transportation. They can't get to church, they can't go shopping. You know, it's this economic flow through our community, and if we don't have the funding, this stops.
I guess I will say this, and I'll be willing to hear what others will say is that if Randy has said that the money is set aside, it doesn't matter if we pay it now or we pay it if we pay it in the disbursement of the rest of the 3 quarters of the year. So I'd be curious to hear what my other council members have to say.
Well, I'm okay with it as long as a month from now, we're not hearing another ask of, well, I know you promised us 108,000. Can you do more? You know, because this isn't a public, I know everybody always says public transportation, but it isn't run by the city of Norfolk, you know. And it's a great asset for the city, I do agree. And a lot of people do depend on it, I know. Everything you said was true. I know they employ a lot of people. But at the same time, the taxpayers' money is not here to just, if somebody needs a little handout way, here you go.
We understand.
Yeah, I'd like to just chime in too on this, that, we've already committed this money. It's not like it's an additional ask. So we're in a situation that the money's just needed now as opposed to 3 months from now. So I see no problem with, getting this money where it needs to be and doing it now.
Guys, I think right now, let's decide whether we're gonna move forward on this amendment to the agreement. The money's the second question.
Yeah, correct.
Really, so let's keep plowing forward instead of beating a dead horse.
I don't have the agenda in front of me. What do we got a motion on?
We have a motion on, and a second.
Oh, I'll make a motion to change the original.
No, we've
got a
already done
motion.
that.
Yep,
We've got a
have
motion and a second.
And a second, yep.
Okay.
So that's no more discussion then? Okay,
Unless,
please vote.
Does anybody else out there have?
Oh, sorry. Anybody else?
Yeah, I'll update you on as much as I can within the confines of the investigation.
Yeah, can we hear
Joe
you?
Smith, County Attorney. Yeah, I know. One time I walked out with this, about 20 years ago. Tracy's been good. We were notified day before yesterday. I talked to 2 commissioners so far, within the confines of public meeting. To be fair, the commissioners have it on their agenda for next Tuesday. It's agended as discussion with me and action. There is an investigation pending. It started within an hour or so of the time the county was notified. Sheriff Volk was invited here, as was I. The investigation is proceeding well. As of this morning, I know he had 3 investigators and the sheriff personally involved with it. Neither the sheriff and I are able to, or with any sense of propriety, go into the details. I think maybe some of you know what it's about and the amount of money involved. I anticipate the criminal investigation will be concluded enough that I can make some decisions, certainly by next Tuesday, maybe even before that. I wanted to just disclose that much to you out of a sense of fairness. And I know decisions you're making, the county may be in the same type of spot next week, although the county gave $750,000 in late June, and that was a one-time deal.
How much was that again?
What's that?
What was that number again?
$750,000. That was in late June. There was like a 2-page contract, which we all worked on. It included provisions that the county could ask for an audit, ask for records. Tracy's been very cooperative in that since we found out. As I said, I know you may go into executive session. Neither the sheriff or I can go into that with you. I can certainly talk with the city attorney, because obviously on the civil side, the city and the county have some things to discuss, some mutual interest. But the criminal investigation proceeding very, very fast. The bank's been notified. Everybody's been notified so far. This morning, as I said, I counted 3 investigators and the sheriff working personally on it. So I say, I got 2 roles here. I represent the commissioners. I was involved in the contract. My other role is as county attorney, the criminal side of it. So that's what I can tell you, what I'm comfortable telling you. With any questions within reason I can answer. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Any further discussion? Please vote.
all council members present voting in the affirmative, motion carries.
Now I'm going to ask for a motion and consideration of approval of the city of Norfolk to pay $88,155.98 to North Fork Area Transit, Inc., a Nebraska nonprofit corporation, with potential closed session for the protection of public interest to discuss an ongoing investigation regarding allegations of criminal misconduct within a local organization.
I'll make a motion for consideration.
Second?
Okay. What's that?
Discussion.
That's what we have to discuss. What?
We're just start discussion.
Yeah, we can start discussion right now.
I guess as far as the 88,000, we've already, in my eyes, we've already agreed to that money. And I know we've agreed to do it quarterly. But in this situation, if they're asking for the money, only the money that we've agreed to give them, it doesn't matter when they get it, if it's quarterly or all today. Agreed to today.
I would just wonder, Tracy, like, how much time does this buy you guys? How much, as far as, what's the payroll every 2 weeks look like, or what's expenses look like monthly?
Our hope is with the mobility management coming in next week, they will start first thing Monday morning to start going through every invoice to make sure everything that has been submitted to the state, along with, we do have that reimbursement coming from the state, hopefully it will be next week, just not sure when that will come. And then from there, we'll be reaching out to our sponsors to re-engage them and that. We feel that there are some invoices that have not been submitted to, it's called the 5311 to the state.
Yeah.
That's still sitting out there. We believe that that those have not been submitted and that we will have more reimbursement coming from that. We do have some additional sponsors that do want our service here at the beginning of the year. We just haven't officially signed a contract with them, but that will be some additional funding for sponsors of businesses here in town. Kind of like the Tyson relationship that we have, it will be with another industry.
So
You mentioned reimbursement, and you said that's coming from,
The State Department, Nebraska.
and for what reason?
So what happens is when we receive an invoice, 80% of that is paid by the state. And so that's our reimbursement back to our agency to pay.
So I guess I'm just asking, how far will the $88,000 go?
The 88,000 today will make payroll. Yes. And then our hopes is at the beginning of next week, we will have that reimbursement to come in. And then in the next 6 weeks, we're going to have the mobility team going through each and every one of those invoices to see if there's some else still outstanding funds. And then those businesses that are sponsors of us, that funding will be coming in as well. And so through all that, that will bide that time to keep us going.
So of the 88,000, is that strictly payroll or is that operational cost too?
Mainly payroll.
Okay, because your fuel costs and all that, I didn't know. So I kind of what you're asking, I'm
Yeah.
thinking, so the 88,000 is today, and the 200,000 then would, if for just payroll, would take you guys about 2.5 weeks or 2 weeks, and maybe down the road, or two and a third pay periods. So that'd be what, 4.5 weeks, 4 weeks?
Yeah.
It sounds
But-
like that mobility team she's talking about comes
Is-
in and
yes.
sets them up online to continue on.
Yeah.
But who,
And they
how
will-
do you cover your operational costs though? If that's only, because of the 200,000, that's
We-
only gonna get you payroll for 2 pay periods.
And we will have the business sponsorship coming in during that time frame as well.
So
So
like,
between
Thinking my
that,
right.
turning in the invoices again, continuing to work with the transportation on that, trying to get as much money as possible in the next couple weeks to get that going, to raise that up. And then having that mobility management really overseeing what's going in and out the door to still continue to provide the best services
Right.
in Norfolk and the surrounding areas, but not to exceed that.
I know it's a tough job for you today.
It is,
Yeah.
it's been a tough week.
I bet.
So the general manager was suspended, and is there someone? I thought that's, if I heard that right. So is there someone in that role now or currently?
Well, the mobility team will take the lead. There is a local employee who's going to be there as well, but it's mostly the mobility team that's coming in is going to be running day-to-day operations. Like I said, I think they're on site right now or will be soon this afternoon.
Department of Transportation has agreed to fully.
Right.
Because they don't want that.
Right.
I'm sorry, guys.
Yep. I think it's something that we obviously already dedicated money to and need to do, and not just, well, I think it's something that we already dedicated money to, and we need to move forward and get this going to keep them rolling. It's not that it's just the holiday season, but it's the fact that it's people's lives, and it's not just the people that work there, but the people that are going to work. And you know, some people can say they don't see anybody on them buses, but we all know that early mornings there's buses going to Tyson or coming into town or going to the VA or all those types of things, and there's a great need. So in my opinion, I think in a way it's a no-brainer. Obviously it's questions for us to ask because it's a big lump sum, but we need to move forward and help out here on something we already committed to anyway.
Have other contributors been notified as well? of
After this
situa-
meeting, we are reaching out to
Okay.
each individual sponsor to let them know of the current situation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
I do wonder about like the recapturing of funds and stuff like that. Just because I just think about the overall operation of Norfolk Transit and how quickly Joe will have to. I think that does that hinge on how quickly the investigation goes to recapture some of this too.
Again, I got two roles. Commissioners on the same, for the same boats you have. We're looking at, on the civil side, who might be available to reimburse. You know, for example, people have bonds, those type of things, other things. Again, the county was $750,000. That was a one-time thing. I've talked to two commissioners, and I'll talk to the city attorney. You know, I've thought in my own head what might be available out there to recompense the organization. And as a lawyer, I have like 3 ideas. As far as the timetable on the criminal side of it, I anticipate getting the investigation to a point that I can make a decision and do the necessary paperwork of that decision by next Tuesday. I wouldn't be surprised if the detectives come in today, Joe, this is what we have. But I have thought on the other side of it, you know, certainly I know the amount of money that's gone, you know, and Danielle as well, I'm sure, thought along that line, who is there out there, what agencies are out there that may have some civil liability as well. And I'll discuss that with Danielle. She's a very bright lady.
Yeah, I'm just thinking, how do we we got to keep this thing going well beyond 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I know that's probably a discussion beyond what we're doing here today, but I think it's worth noting.
Anybody else? Okay, seeing no further discussion, please vote.
Missing one over there. Oh, there we go. All council members present voting in the affirmative. Motion carries.
Having no further action on our agenda, I call this meeting adjourned.